Welcome to the Bad Tutors podcast. If you're here for the newest, up-to-date, accurate information on the nerdy topics that are near and dear to your heart, well, let me tell you, you ended up in the wrong place. Here, we are all about hot takes and grandiose displays of misinformation, so stick along for the ride and you might just blow a blood vessel or two. So Tyler, coming off the back of Pokemon in the tournament that is definitely still being worked on and will come out, we're going to talk about something completely different and wholly unrelated to that. And we're going to talk about goblins. We've been meaning to talk about this for a very long time, as I've always been a large goblin supporter, and I think you're at minimum indifferent to goblins.
I'm a fan.
I think you're fan-ish. You're fan-ish.
The thing is, I guess, okay, so here's my opening thoughts before we get too deep into it. In Magic the Gathering, which is where I'm going to talk most about goblins, their playstyle has never really stuck out to me in terms of like the goblin, what I guess is now Typal or Kindred deck style of just flooding the board with a bunch of goblins and then pushing them sideways. I love the color red, and they certainly find their ways into decks to sort of support the other things that the tribe does, but just in general, they're neat, but they're not anything to write home about, to me.
See, I kind of agree with that in a weird sort of way, but I think that's part of the reason that they are so good as well. So, like, part of the reason I have written down here some of the reasons I love goblins, and one of them is just that they're a fucking classic, and they've always been a classic. They're always a real good one to just have around. They're your classic tabletop role-playing game, like level 1 encounter. They're very basic, but it's kind of like a if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, it's still a very good thing to have around, and that's kind of part of the reason that I like them, and I want to get into the other reasons in a second here, but we should also get into kind of where goblins came from, I think, as well. Now, originally, you will obviously see that goblins came from, like, folklore, and, like, all around the world, like, most cultures had, like, a version of goblins or gremlins doing like some little nefarious type of stuff. Like, it is where we get some of the influence, but I'm going to skip past those and just say that that is something that is also true, by the way, if you didn't know that. But I'm going to pick up with one Mr. J.R.R. Tolkien, who was really the first person to like give us the common pop culture goblin that we think of today. He's the first one to like really...
The fantasy goblin.
Right, yeah, the fantasy goblin, to like write it down, use it in that way. And in his works, it is interchangeable with orc.
Okay.
That is important to know. More so, it's important to know for Lord of the Rings, but also orcs count as goblins. So when you're thinking of them, because in the movie, it kind of seems like they're different. And that's most people's exposure to Lord of the Rings. So they are different, or they are the same creature. And that's all the background I'm trying to cover there. That's where they came from, and we've gone in different places with them in different kind of settings, and that's what we're gonna... It's like the main thing that we're trying to cover in this episode of like just the different types of goblins and like goblins in different settings and what we like about them. But I'm gonna start off with why I've always liked goblins. Why I think they're such fun quirky little boys, and that is the first reason that I have written down here is that they are fun, quirky little guys. They're normally archetypally just guys that are like very bad at doing things, but they just kind of get them done in some like batshit crazy way of just like putting together like makeshift builds and cobbling things together and just making it work. In Pathfinder, we see that like their weapons, they're like dog slicers and horse choppers. They're like super effective, but also if you get a crit, they break. Or if you get a crit fail, they break.
You're talking in Pathfinder.
Specifically
their signature
in that.
weapons have the fragile condition. in the first edition, which is what we play, and that means that on a natural 1 they gain the broken condition, which gives you a bunch of negative bonuses to hitting and damage, and then I think another natural 1 will make it an unusable weapon at that point.
Correct.
But yeah, they're just like they're like the little goobers, especially in tabletop RPG. You, for the most part, I know that a lot of goblin characters exist now and are becoming popular in media to portray them as sorry, when I say in media, I mean like live action play. Right. To portray them as not just like evildoers that are just out there as bad guys. But I will say, and this is something that I stand by. This is a
discussion that you and I have a lot, if it's where I think you're going.
Yeah, you need to have things in your world that are always bad. It could be goblins. It could be orcs. It could be
drow. That's a common one to throw in there.
But there needs to be something that when your players see it, they go, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do.
This is the evil creature.
Kill these things. So,
no, I agree with that. I definitely think there should be an evil creature. I do think that there is nuance to be had there still.
Always.
I think, and I know you don't disagree with that, obviously.
But what I see a lot, especially like there's a TikToker that I watch that does phenomenal D&D content where he does skits. His name's Zach, and he did one where his players see a goblin, they kill him, and then in his pockets they see like a hand-drawn picture of the goblin dad with the goblin mom, drawn clearly by a little goblin kid. And it's funny to do that to your players, but I think it's also important that your players have a very clear enemy, especially in the early game before you introduce them to like the big evil of the game. But
until they have the plot.
But I digress.
I agree with that. All of those kind of like just like little nuances and little things that can pull them in from being just slightly more. I like to think of them as evil, but I choose to think of them as like more of a chaotic, funny type of evil. Like they're definitely evil. Everything they do is evil, but they're doing it in the funniest way possible, or the evilest thing that is still very funny to do is like how I imagine them always pulling it off. So there's still like the backstabby fuckery that they like to do all the time. Like they're still doing evil things. They're trying to kill each other and assassinate people, but like they have a failed assassination attempt, and they're setting off explosions and trying to stab him, and then the bodyguard shoots the person that was supposed to be killed, and it's like, well, my assassination attempt worked and I did it. And that's so chaotic and funny, where it's like, well, no, you completely failed. Everything went wrong. And it's super evil. But it still somehow worked out in your favor, and that's the like kind of goblin stories. The like underdog, evil, ne'er-do-well stories are so fucking fun to me. I just love those. And like they're, maybe not your classic goblin story, but like I was reading through the Pathfinder comics that they have, and it's stuff like that of like a couple smart goblins doing like weird business ventures and stuff, and all of the quirky stuff that they get up to is just so fun to me. How does somebody not enjoy that,
Yeah, something that's pretty common throughout different forms of literature or media is that they are just like lucky in terms of like achieving whatever their goals are, because they go in with such a poor plan, and it's usually just kill everyone, and they just can't seem to piece together that they're not that strong.
No.
And it's really funny when especially if the goblins are like the center opposition to the good guys or whatever it is. They are just goblins, so they have to
Yeah.
get a little lucky every now and then to actually be a threat.
And you kind of hit on the last kind of point I want to make here that is super fun to me is like they always think they're the smartest. They're the smartest fucking thing there is. They think that they're the best. And like you said, they just happen to get lucky. So them thinking that they're the best and they're awful. They're the fucking worst. But then confirmation bias is just like, goddamn right I'm the best. My plan was so simple that any logical person sees that it couldn't have possibly failed in the way that you had it set up. But I'm the fucking smartest person there is. I'm smarter than all these other fucking green-skinned idiots. I'm in charge now. And then they just try and kill each other again. And that's the cycle that goes forever, that keeps goblins down. They follow a trope that I can only think of in a couple places, so I don't know if it's even a trope, but just something would be stronger if they weren't so dumb and backstabby. Like, at some point, enough goblins could mass up and be, like, a very, very real threat if they weren't all idiots, even with really shitty gear. But they'll never mass up because they're too fucking stupid to.
It's funny to think about, like, you could run a D&D or similar tabletop game that's a fantasy setting where the main enemy of the story is just a guy who got all of the different tribes of goblins together and got them to stop fighting each other, and now he's just a force to be reckoned with an army that is just massive, and that would be funny. And I think, the players would feel strong.
Yeah. That concept is Gazgul Thraka from 40K, who got all of the orcs together.
Yeah.
Got them all to stop fighting. I agree.
40K
it's so
orcs
good.
feel like goblins in every other media. They're just
They
orcs.
They really do.
Because
we are going to talk about something else more specific from 40K, but like, you're right. They're just pure fucking chaos. They're evil for the love of the game. They're not evil for gain. They're evil because fighting and killing is fun. There's not... I think when we talked about 40K, I made the argument that orcs are maybe the least evil faction because there's no malice in anything that they do. And that's like the only difference from how I would define goblins in traditional media, because there's certainly malice. But all of the actions, 100%, they're just fucking goblins. And it's so great. I love them.
Yeah, I agree. Goblins, they're so like, perfect for what they need to be.
Exactly. Like, do you want to be fighting goblins up into the mid game? If we're talking like Pathfinder, like up until like level 6, 7? No, you don't. But like a first couple encounters in like some fun little bullshit with goblins, that's perfect. That's like exactly what you fucking want. It's so good.
Yeah, and like to talk about sort of like their mirror, kobolds and D&D and Pathfinder are much the same, but they have like cunning to them. They use like traps and stuff, whereas goblins are just out there setting stuff on fire, blowing stuff up. Like, that's their tactics. Their tactics is just so chaos, whereas kobolds are draw them into traps and stuff like that. And both of them,
they're both fun. I do love kobolds.
You have a
but
note
I
here
don't like
about,
scalies as much.
Yeah.
So.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. God damn it. Hang on, that derailed me. Let's focus. You have a note here about the formula not needing to be changed because they're classic, and the fact that a level 1 goblin fight is a banger, and also humbling. And if anybody has played 5th edition starter kit, Mines of Phandelver adventure, you know it's humbling because it opens with an ambush from goblins. Spoiler alert, a little after the fact, but I've ran this and I've had it run for me, and both times 2 players of probably 5, if I'm remembering correctly, went down in the first round. It's just like they can be so menacing to just starting characters that it's like, okay, these guys are bad dudes. and then they get like 2 levels, and now these guys are chumps. It's such a nice, the space that they fill in tabletop role playing games, especially, is so perfectly carved out for goblins, and the only thing that kind of compares to it would be like a kobold or something. But let's move forward and let's talk types of goblins.
Yeah, so I have kind of laid out here just a couple of, like, I don't want to say, like, a comprehensive list of, like, all of the, like, biggest goblins in media, because, like, there's a lot that I'm missing. So it's just the ones that I want. It's a list of goblins that I wanted to talk about specifically. And if there's any others that you would like to throw in, of course, please do. But we're going to start off with what I think is genuinely, like, one of the top, like, pretty classic ones. And we're going to talk about a little bit about the Pathfinder and 5th edition goblins and, like, I guess, like, tabletop role-playing games in general. But, like, you know, these are the big two. And I was, like, looking up pictures of them again. And the looks split is a lot bigger than I remembered it being. I don't know the last time you looked at, like, a specific picture of a 5th edition goblin, but they took a much more, like, kind of traditional approach, I think I'd say, where, like, they made them hot. I don't know how else to say it. They have, like, 6-packs and, like, real chiseled, like, Chad chins and, like, are just pretty humanoid overall, and I don't know how I feel about it. But I do know that was, like, the more, like, traditional when Dungeons and Dragons was first getting made, and, like, taking it more directly from folklore is, like, that kind of goblin is the more correct one, if you're talking about that, if you want to say correct is even applicable here, realistically. But I'm sure you know what Pathfinder goblins look like in fucking comparison. Where
yeah, they definitely go for the monstrous look.
Yeah. I described it as if you take Stewie Griffin's head, then make the mouth the Joker's mouth, but fill it full of very sharp teeth, and make the eyes like triple the size with a pointy green ears, and that's a Pathfinder goblin. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, no, they just look like footballs full of teeth.
They're great. I absolutely love them. Like, that's the kind of goblin that I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
But they're horrific nightmare creatures.
Yeah, for sure. I think Pathfinder definitely sort of carved them out as like evil monsters more so than 5th edition, certainly. And then they made them a playable race, and while they still have the same physical attributes, you'll see that there is, especially in 2nd edition, they're a core race.
Oh, Jesus, are they really?
Yeah, so in 1st edition, they're added in the, it might be Advanced Player's Guide as a racial option.
Yeah.
In 2nd edition, core rulebook, you can play as the Goblin ancestry. But they still look the same. So it's like written into the, I guess, the lore and the setting that there's a stigma around goblins, similar to like half-orcs and stuff like that. But Pathfinder goblins are monstrous, and then 5th edition goblins also have stats, and I believe those came in Volo's Guide to Monsters. Yep. And they are less, how to put this, frightening to look at, I suppose. They're just not quite like screaming murder when you look
like
at them.
Maniacs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it does kind of, I think we've played with it a little bit in some of our games of the like civilized goblin. I think that's like a fun trope to play with, of like having like a couple or like one goblin. We have like in our big magic college, in the pirate campaign, the professor of either necromancy or evocation, I can't remember offhand, is a goblin.
Yeah.
And like that's very fun, and like I have a character plan for the pirate campaign if something happens that is a very like well spoken goblin, until combat or something, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and
but
then
it's
like lose their mind.
Yeah, and it's like those feel like very fun things to play with. And then I think about it a little bit, and I'm like, these do feel a little problematic to be playing with, but like, just address things properly,
Yeah.
Of like, if you get into like, oh, like we're bringing their goblins are just like a big faux pas, but like, look, they're getting colonized. They're so prim and proper now, and it's like, oh, this is maybe like. Be careful with this topic, depending on how you want to go with it, if you're addressing it in a game. But like, it's still fun as a one-off to just kind of play with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like in where we see them the most, as we kind of talked about already, is your first, call it levels 1 to 4 ish.
Yeah.
In the two notable encounters we have with them, are the ever notorious Mines of Phandelver.
I was talking about that when you stepped away. That particular encounter is like notorious online for just being so
way
deadly.
overtuned.
And then the other one that you're talking about is one that I've played through 3 times. It is
oh god, you have
the start of Rise of Runelords. The Sandpoint Festival gets raided by goblins, and that one is it's not more or less deadly because it is Pathfinder. It is more deadly, but I think
it's more fair, and it's more deadly
more
just because it's Pathfinder.
Yeah, it's more fair, and it's not like everybody's caught by surprise. You guys just got fucked up by some goblins. It's just here they come. They're hooping and hollering, throwing torches around, lighting everything on fire,
murdering dogs because they're specifically afraid of both of them.
Yeah, it's just a
great
great introduction to TTRPGs for sure.
I love them dearly. They're so much fun. Next, I want to talk a little bit about Malifaux. Now we have a whole episode where we talk about the factions of Malifaux, where like they're going to be covered a lot more in depth there. So I'm going to breeze over them a little bit when we talk about them here. But as I hope I said in that episode, they're not technically goblins. They're gremlins within the Malifaux universe. Sure. But like, also look at them and then look up a picture of a Pathfinder goblin and tell me it's not a goblin. If it looks like a goblin, talks like a goblin, and fucking explodes like a goblin, it's a fucking goblin. And they do explosions really well in the Malifaux version of them.
Yeah.
And where you're going to find them in Malifaux is the faction known as the Bayou. And they're a group of like goblin boys and necromancers as well, but we're focusing on the goblin side of things. That are just the like stereotypical backwater southern swamp person hick. Straight out of Deliverance, but they're goblins too. And that's my dream right there. That's one of the most fun types of goblins. I can't even explain how much I love that. Those are just so fucking fun. It's so exciting to just have that. They have like some real cool models and stuff. And I believe I talk about the Whiskey Golem. The Whiskey Golem's just such a cool fucking model. They have all these like jury-rigged improvised explosives. They're riding around on pigs. They have this like ramshackle fucking coalition between all of them. But it lasts as a goblin thing should, like pretty much just long enough to make sure that they get more supplies and then have enough supplies to fuck each other over before the next raid, where they then get more supplies and shiny things. And also there's alcohol and explosives because it's the Wild West world.
Yeah, that's fun.
What more could you want? We have a whole episode talking about them. I'll probably talk about them more in the future if we ever get back to Malifaux. That's the main thing there. They're great. I love that version of them as well. Next, we're going to talk about 40k a little more. Tyler's favorite. I don't remember how much we've talked specifically, other than a couple minutes ago, about orcs. I know we have talked about them, you and I, just personally. But under orcs, which we've already described as rather goblin-y in their nature, is another race called Gretchen. Now there, I'll drop you a picture of one if you haven't seen them. They're just they're goblins. They're basically like much closer to goblins because Warhammer Fantasy does just straight up have goblins as a full faction. I do not believe, unless I'm very much forgetting something, that Gretchen can be played as like their own faction with their own rules. I'm sure you could.
So 40. I'm sorry, Warhammer
Kill Team. You might be able to.
Warhammer Age of Sigmar. There's goblins, right?
Yes, as well as fantasy, which is I don't know what the two breaks in the fantasy version are, but yes, in both versions of the fantasy world, there were like you can actually fully play goblins as a faction.
Gotcha.
And in 40K, I don't believe so. In Kill Team, you might be able to, because I know you can run a full thing of Kill-a-Cans, which I will talk about in a second. You might be able to just like run like only Gretchen units in an Orcs army, but it just might not benefit you in the same way. I don't actually play the tabletop of 40K. I don't know why I'm pretending that I know fucking anything.
Yeah, it's why we haven't talked more about 40Ks because we're just
correct.
Not.
I only know lore. I couldn't talk about the tabletop to save my life.
Yeah.
These guys, other than maybe if you tell me something different for magic goblins, I think that I'm pretty willing to say that these are the most aggressive goblins on this that we're going to talk about, and that's just because they're basically small 40K orcs, which, as we've said, are literally genetically engineered to do nothing but war. That is their whole thing. They kill for fun. That's all they do. They do war. That's their thing. And Gretchen and Grots, as they're also referred to, do the same thing, but they're smaller, so they have to be a little sneaky, because if they step out of line and do something really dumb, they'll just get squashed.
Yeah. That's
like the only real difference there. But they're still very fun, and it leads to some kind of fun stories, like the story of Dored Gabo, which is a Gretchen freedom fighter who basically led, like, I want to say a communist revolution based on, like, his art and iconography and everything, and that's, like, kind of the vibe of it. But the actual story is that they were gearing up, the whole planet of orcs was gearing up to go on a big wah. And they said, oh yeah, you have to have a ticket to go, by the way, to get a seat on the ship. And no Gretchen are allowed to go, actually, by the way, just orcs. So they started a revolution and to fight against that, to try and get seats on the ship. And it's not even like the one particular Gretchen is Dored Gabo. It's like a figurehead title. Like, whoever's the current person in charge, secretly, it's like, that I can't think of an example offhand for some reason. But
like the Grey Fox.
That trope I'm talking about. Thank you. Yes, exactly. And they're just like, that's fun. Exactly. There was a very lucky, known as a very lucky Gretchen, Makari. He was the banner lord, the banner carrier for Gazgul, who's like the orc. He's the big orc. That's like the big famous one from 40K, and he was always considered to be very lucky because he was like the longest lived one, and then he just got sat on.
Yikes!
Gazgul sat on him, and then he died. But other than that, very lucky. And he had what is it here? Good fortune still surrounds the lucky stick, which was his little knife that he could stab things with. And as much as I say I won't talk about the tabletop because I don't know numbers, I know his basic effect, to put it very simply without getting into numbers, on the tabletop is like, if you roll well enough, he like ignores armor or something, or like he does like crazy damage when he crits, basically, like way more than anything his size should be able to do, because he is genuinely lucky, and then he also just happened to be sat on. So he is actually very strong if you roll the nuts or something like that. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's worth taking or anything like that, but fun guy. But they kind of do like a bunch of different things for the orcs. They kind of are all-purpose jobs, from actual ammunition to ranching squigs, which are not only transportation and explosives and food and a lot of other things. The orcs are very utilitarian and can do a lot of things with very little, to farming other orcs and grots, because as we have said, orcs are plants. That's not even like conspiracy, that's just like, if anything, that's like the intro 40k joke, or one of them, of like, did you know that the big fighty boys are actually they're chlorophyll. They got chlorophyll, and that's why they're green. And it is very funny, but like, that's some base information. So they oversee the growing of not only orcs for food, but also for orcs, so they can have more orcs. And what else? The Killicans. I think that's the last thing I'm gonna talk about.
Okay.
For them, I could just like see like, there's some stories about them, but when it gets to 40k, I just get to a point of like, I just need to start listing cool things, and that becomes less coherent at a certain point. They're mech, so like you know you've seen various 40k mechs throughout time. I'm sure they're online. You've seen them. Check out these little fuckers, though. These guys are great. These are called the Killicans, and these are Gretchen mechs. They're about the size of a goblin, and they're just like fucking like oil barrels, basically, that they put a bunch of guns in grippies bits on, and they're just like, these are the Gretchen mechs, and they're so funny. I love them so much. They're great. Awesome. I love all things orcs. But like, we're talking about goblins, and those are like goblin. The idea of a goblin mech is very funny. It's the same reason that I like the whiskey golem. Them putting together small stupid things, putting together big robot is always funny, because it's always shit. It's always a really bad robot, and bad robots are great. I love bad robots.
You want me to talk about WoW Goblins?
Yeah, I was going to say, I have written WoW Goblins. Did either of us look them up very much? Other than, I know they're very tech-related. Like, they're kind of a smarter version of goblins, aren't they, to some degree?
Yeah,
just keeping the crazy side?
In WoW, you have the Alliance and the Horde. And in the Alliance, you have gnomes, which are your more technically advanced, making inventions kind of race. And then their opposite in the Horde is the Goblins, who do much the same. I don't know, like, racials and stuff, and I know that like recently Horde and Alliance has kind of become maybe not so big a deal, but maybe they've gone back on that. I don't know. WoW is doing all these different things to keep their player base. Yeah. But they build machines. Gnomes are more like clockwork, and goblins are more like diesel punk, I suppose. But they're like Magitech. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Magitech is like kind of what the goblins do in WoW. And then in Magic the Gathering, something that I know a lot more about, goblins cover a lot of different things. So in Dominaria, they are your traditional, this is a horde of small dudes that are strength in numbers kind of thing. That's on
Shout out Goblin Chain Whirler.
Yep, true.
The one card I remember from when I was looking at competitive Magic.
True. And then another popular plane of Ravnica. Goblins are a street gang in that.
That's fun.
And they don't really have a faction tie to any of the color pairs. they kind of operate
Interesting.
on their own for the most part. I mean, sometimes you'll have, I think the card is Boros Recruit, which is a red and a white for a goblin that's 1/1 with double strike. They do dip into things. There's a lot of Is It goblins too, actually, now that I think about it, because fire and
a lot of
magic.
like wizard goblins as well. With that,
Zendikar, their early versions were just a lot like the Dominaria goblins, where it's just like a very traditional goblins. But in our last visit...
Give me a quick refresh. What is Zendikar again?
Zendikar is the plane that cares about like the lands and like the nature of the plane. It's where you get landfall from. All of the Hedrons are there. It was assaulted by the Eldrazi. Nahiri's from there. It's got the core.
All the big like floating islands and everything, right? Okay, yeah.
So in the original Zendikar block, or maybe not the block, but in the original Zendikar, they're just normal goblins. Battle for Zendikar, I think they're still the normal Zendikar goblins, but Zendikar Rising, you get a lot more goblins that kind of have like these rocky features. And I can't remember who said it, but one of the lead designers for art actually commented that the goblins started eating rocks for like mineral nutrition, and started incorporating, or their bodies naturally started like growing sort of like these rocky features on them. So they'll have like a head crest that's rock, or like chins that are rocky. So those are cool. Those are interesting. I'll talk about one more plane. Kamigawa has very interesting goblins. They're called the Aki, and I think it translates to little monsters, but they're kind of like lizard-ish, or like little gremlin kind of guys. They have so the one that you just sent me is
I just like sent Tyler Grotag Bug Catcher.
Yeah,
which is just a Tyranid. He's just a Tyranid. His head looks like it.
Yeah, the art shows exactly what I was talking about. It's like rocky growths on them as they have sort of adapted their diet. But anyway, back to the Aki. We have like little monsters. You know, they have like these bulbous growths and horns, and they kind of look like little devils or little oni, and they're not inherently bad guys in this plane. They're just like a tribe of people, but you know, there are some that are training to become samurai. There's ones that care about magic, and Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, they have sort of adopted a much more armored feature to them. They wear a lot more armor, use a lot more weapons. They're just like in Magic, the goblins are always changing. Oh, I should probably talk about Ixalan. So Ixalan is your pirates.
I would say they're pirate goblins in that one.
Yeah,
right?
There's pirates, dinosaurs, pirates, dinosaurs. Oh, there's vampires too. And then is there one more tribe that I'm forgetting? Oh, okay. So we have pirates, we have vampires, we have dinosaurs, and we have Murloc. Merfolk.
I was like, Murloc, hold on.
I'm still talking WoW.
That makes sense that Merfolk are there as well.
Yeah, but in Ixalan, the goblins are actually monkey-like. Fully intelligent, but furry. They climbing treetops and stuff, and they also are prone to piracy, which is amazing. And then I guess I should probably throw in sometimes the already, I guess, bad reputation of goblins becomes even worse when you put someone who doesn't know how to write in behind the pen, so to speak, where you have J.K. Rowling making the goblins just a thinly veiled anti-Semitic
allegory.
Bankers,
if you even want to call it an allegory. Yeah.
They're the bankers of the magic world. And is Dobby? Dobby's an elf, but she did a lot of like
house elves.
She wrote like a really fucked up shit.
I'd say that's kind of like in the same kind of vein as I was talking about of like when you civilize goblins. Obviously, that's taking it in a very different direction, but like when you take it from the traditional tropes that we have in like the normal goblin settings and how they act, and there's a couple ways to change it that make them kind of insidious, and you have to be a little careful if you don't want to be it feels dumb to be like if you don't want to be problematic, but like if you don't want to be like racist, like just straight up, if you don't want to be racist, like
you don't have to write them in
colonizer
noses and little beady eyes that handle money. Like that's
or like a primitive tribe that needs to be saved. Like you don't need to have a colonizer narrative of like that's where I'm like, oh yeah, it's fun to have like, oh, I'm a civilized goblin and the others aren't, and it's like, oh, all of those heathens and pagans, and it's like, oh wait, that's hold on.
Yeah.
That's not a fun plot line that I actually want to explore. That's not how I want this to be done. Like I think there are still good ways to explore that narrative, but it's an easy one to explore very poorly.
Yeah.
So you just have to be a little careful with it.
Move on to your honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I have some disagreements with what I'm seeing here.
Okay. I'm intrigued, certainly. The first one, these are more so going to be specific goblins, or at least a couple of them are. One of them is going to be Boblin, and if you disagree with this one, I don't know what's wrong with you.
It's not this one.
I didn't think so, because Boblin the Goblin is like baby's first D&D joke of you encounter off of your first goblin fight that we've been describing this whole fucking episode. There's one left, and the party wants to keep it as a pet, which is already problematic. But normally you say as an accomplice, not a pet.
The word
that's maybe it's more my fault. Yeah, that's how I'm phrasing it. He's an accomplice and a compatriot to the party, but his name is Boblin, so he's a joke the whole time, and then you kill him as the DM at a crucial point to make the party realize that D&D can make you feel pain. Boblin the Goblin is a rite of passage for D&D is what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. It doesn't always have to be Boblin, but there is always a Boblin that is a rite of passage of, oh wait, this game can make me feel emotions? He was just the comic relief character. Why'd you kill him like that? That's why Boblin the Goblin is an honorable mention. And I'm not going in order because I know which one you have an issue with, obviously. And I'm going to my third one, where I say, have you seen the movie Troll 2?
Yeah. Well,
have you? That is not what I just asked you. Have you seen the movie Troll 2?
Oh, I thought you were talking
about... Not
the
movie Trolls.
The Trolls movie.
No. The movie Troll 2 specifically. Please look it up to confirm.
Okay.
It makes a big fucking difference.
Jesus.
Another question I could ask you is, do you watch Eddie Burback as religiously as I do?
No.
In the past. Okay, because he has a video covering it.
Okay, so this for anybody else who isn't familiar with it as I am, is practical effects for goblins.
Yeah, it's really bad, really, like, not even B horror movie, like the F horror movie, but it's Oh, it's so good, so good. Please watch it. It's such a good movie. I I know that I'm gonna say this is the only spoiler I'm gonna say for it because I'd rather have you just watch this movie for real. Please watch this movie. It's called Troll 2, and I said they're an honorable mention on my Goblin list. They are goblins despite the title. There is another movie called Troll. It is wholly unrelated to Troll 2, but they said that someone wanted to make this movie. They wanted to call it Goblin, and then some movie executives saw the trailer and went, "Oh, that's a movie to the that's a sequel. That's a sequel to the first movie." And they went, No, it's not even a little bit. And they went, yes, it is. Call it Troll 2. And then they just didn't change anything. It's just the title of the movie. Please go watch it. It's so funny.
I thought you were talking about the Trolls movie, which also has goblins in it, and they're the bad guys.
It does. That would have been an interesting one to talk about as well. I forgot until you mentioned that because I only saw it like one time in high school. But you are correct.
Oh, yeah.
The villains of the Trolls movies are goblins.
My ex's niece Annie loved, maybe still loves.
Oh, that makes sense.
She loved the movie, and I hung out with her during the pandemic, watching her for, while her grandparents were at work, and we would watch Trolls and Moana all the time. Oh, and Tangled. Like every day we'd go through those three movies.
Hey, so, 2 of those 3 movies are very good, and one of them I didn't hate.
It's funny because like
Trolls was fine. The other 2 are good movies.
The goblins in that movie just like their whole thing is that they eat trolls, and then the trolls are like, "Hey, don't eat us.
Could you not eat us, please?"
And then
that's
it's like,
it.
"Okay,
that's our whole
great,
thing.
We won't eat you."
It's like, all right. It's like, oh, good, we solved the issue.
Great kids movie. Has lots of good music in it, though.
It does. The soundtrack was pretty good.
All right,
so let's get into the next one.
I'm gonna fight with you.
So based on the chaos and quirky nature that I have outlined, I need you to let me cook for a second.
Go ahead, cook.
As I tell you that all versions of Snake from the Metal Gear Solid franchise give Goblin vibes, and I will say that in the canonical story,
go ahead.
Probably not. In the way that you play those games and you are given the free reign to do what you want, tackle things how you want, set up these weird, quirky traps for people, and you zip them away on fucking balloons and capture them and make them work at your base, and you're fighting against Die Hard Man and all of this like insane lore. This is Goblin energy. You have to at least give me that. How you can tackle things. You're sneaking around, knocking people unconscious and taking their stuff. It's big Goblin energy. You have to give me that. Come on.
Okay.
You see where I'm going, at least?
I see what you're saying, because all you're thinking about right now is Metal Gear Solid 5. Because you can slide down a sandy hill on a cardboard box and shoot people while you do it.
I'm thinking about Peace Walker as well. I'm thinking about 3. I'm thinking about a couple of the different games.
Okay. So, the Metal Gear Solid games are stealthy and tactical at their core.
Yes.
Where you use different weapons in your armory to accomplish different goals. And what you're saying is, because of the fact that you can do anything that you want, or you can like, whistle around a corner or whatever, and they come over, and then you kill them that way. It's a sandboxy game with lots of tools at your disposal and most of the entries, and I don't think that.
Would you be more okay if I called him a kobold?
No.
Why? Let me cook a second time. Let me cook a second time. But now we're talking about laying traps and being stealthy, and that's actually, I think you're right. I think he's a kobold, not a goblin. I retract my statement.
Okay. So,
and I will back up the kobold statement a little harder.
So he's a super soldier who Have you watched any Metal Gear Solid lore videos? Have you watched like hours like I have?
I haven't watched lore videos. I watched a guy play through all of them before the end dies, and he to some degree covers the full story, but not like super in depth. I know it's fucking absurd.
Okay.
I've considered talking about it on this podcast, but
absurd.
I'm like,
I've also
no, it's too
considered
much.
it.
It's too much. I can't do it. I don't want to. You can't make me.
So,
the story of Phantom Pain seems pretty good, though. That one seems fun.
Phantom Pain is a very good story. I think it's a very good story. A lot of people don't, but
did you know that Survive is taking place at the same time in an alternate reality version of the Phantom Pain?
Are you talking about like the
zombie one? Yeah, dude, I want to play Survive.
Shut
Please.
up.
Next time it's on sale, I'm buying it for both of us. But we're back on track.
Do you just need Metal Gear Solid 5, or do you have to buy a separate game?
It's a standalone, yeah. It's not
that's
expensive.
awful.
Yeah, it's worse, but I'll buy it for you. It's fine.
Okay. Anyways,
back on track.
He's not a goblin because he has these skills to back up what he's doing. Is essentially
he's a kobold. He's a kobold.
No, because kobolds also don't. They rely on traps and their cunning to make up for their lack in prowess, whereas Snake and any version of him has the combat prowess to accomplish whatever he needs.
For sure. But he's still got quirky, fun goblin energy.
No, he doesn't.
He got goblin energy.
He's like a special agent.
His gameplay scratches the goblin energy itch in my brain.
Because you play it like a goblin.
Yeah,
Have you played 5?
I have not played 5.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. He allows you. That's why I said not in the story. Like, in the real story, I know that he's high-tech, sneaky, secret agent. But, like, in the way that the games allow you to play, he is goblin energy.
Okay. I would say... let me just say this, okay? At least in 5, you are given a rating based on how well you perform each mission. And
if you go goblin mode, you're awful. You get rated like shit.
So what I'm going to say,
I didn't say it's beneficial for him
is that the game does not.
It doesn't encourage it.
Yeah, it's actually.
No, I fully agree with that.
So playing like a goblin.
I didn't say it was encouraged. I said it allows you to do it.
It's bad for the game because the
completely
game doesn't want you to do that. It's also bad because your character is not a bullet sponge. So when you are just running around being absolutely insane, you're going to have less fun in the game because you're going to die more often. Whereas you're supposed to be... You're supposed to
goblins are just squishy.
With your
Tyler, goblins, you're not understanding. Goblins are just squishy, tiny little guys that die all the time, too. You're just helping my argument.
You're not supposed to use grenades in Metal Gear Solid.
Well, that's not very fun, is it? That's not very goblin of you.
What else do you
want
to say about
would not agree with that.
Go ahead and give us your best goblins.
So we're going to the we're going to the best goblin. Surprise! It's the Skaven. They appeared out of nowhere. You weren't ready for that. Yeah. Now you're gonna tell me. You're gonna say, Ian, we're talking about Warhammer Fantasy. You already said they have a goblin faction. You should probably talk about them. Well, it's like I don't fucking know anything about them, and I didn't have time to look into it. Because all of the videos are like 8 years old and they don't feel like they're accurate anymore. So I'm not talking about them. And do you know what? Same as I just said before, Skaven are goblin energy. And I think you'll actually agree with this one from what you know of Skaven. I think that Skaven are the perfected ideal of a goblin. Because as we've kind of said, goblins are not good at the things that they do, but they just kind of work. Skaven are good at the things that they do, but they're so evil and so stupid and so backstabby that they cannot get fucking anything done ever. It's not even like a conspiracy or like an exaggeration to say that if the Skaven all got together and agreed, let's take over the world, they could do it without a doubt. It is like 100% true. They are that strong. But all they do is care about themselves, be true chaotic evil, or I guess even maybe you could say like lawful evil. No, just planning doesn't make you lawful evil. You can still be chaotic evil and have plans. They're just always plotting against each other. No one's ever safe in Skaven culture. They're all high on drugs, which are also their magic, which is also their weapons, which is also like everything else to them. Some of them completely like mutate themselves to be these massive fucking rat boys. Skaven are rats. I should have led with that. Not everyone knows what Skaven are. They're Warhammer fantasy rat people. And I also love rat people because they give off goblin energy. And they're just great. I just also love them. I don't have any like specific things to talk about for them. Like, they're super fun. I might talk about them on their own eventually. They're just fun little guys, but they give off goblin energy. And that's gonna.
Did you ever play Vermintide?
I did a little bit, but I didn't have anyone to play with, so it was incredibly fucking hard.
Yeah,
the AI wasn't great, but like it was fun.
The Skaven are definitely goblin-y in the fact that it's just they're in the game they're a horde and sneaky, but also explosives and rattling guns. It's just they're very cool.
They're fun.
The Skaven are cool.
They're a fun faction. They're my favorite part of. I don't know a lot about fantasy. They're probably my favorite part of it from the limited amount that I know.
Yeah,
the Undead are pretty cool as well. Actually.
If they were in 40k, I would maybe play 40k because it'd be cool. But
yeah, there are rattling gunners in 40k. They're just not rats. And then I want to talk about the best goblin. Now, Tyler, did you already read it? It looks like you scrolled down.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think that the best goblin is actually Tolkien goblins. And that's because they're just, it really is the perfect, starting point, and it was just simple and everything it needed to be. In Psych, I'm just kidding. It's because they're corrupted and tortured elves that are twisted beyond the point of recognition and were completely destroyed by Melkor when he arrived in Arda and fuck the elves.
Wow, great.
And that's why they're the best.
Great take, Ian.
Yeah. That's how I'm ending this one.
Perfect. Jesus Christ. This episode was as chaotic as Goblins.
That was the point, yeah.
So
I'm glad that you figured it out.
We talked about Metal Gear Solid for a while.
Oh, God. That it accomplished its goal. We really nailed that goblin energy that we were going for. We've been needing one of those.
It's been too long since we've had a completely
just nonsense fucking episode.
Yeah,
we've been more or less on. We've been more or less on track for a while.
We've had all these projects and
nonsense.
Shit.
And
all right, let's just talk about some shit and
let's just
not have any actual thesis to the episode. Besides, Goblins
the thesis
are cool.
is Goblins are pretty fun, right? And then that's it. I hope you did enjoy it, this chaotic whirlwind of an episode. And we do hope you join us next time for the next episode. And we hope you have a great rest of your week, weekend, day, whenever you happen to be listening to this episode. And until the next one, I have been Ian.
And I'm always Tyler.
And what are we talking about next week on the Bad Tutors podcast?
I don't fucking know. There's too much real life shit going on to be that far ahead.
Oh God, we're talking about politics next week? Gross.